guys, and welcome back to another video on my channel. Don't mind my hair if it's looking a little bit funky today. It is having a mind of its own and it is driving me absolutely nuts. However, I'm pretty sure none of you care about that. But today's video is going to be another video in the Appalachia series, or I guess just like in the series of videos, because it isn't really a series that I'm doing. It's just that I think that this is an interesting topic and I love to talk about it. Today's video was mainly supposed to be focusing on folklore. However, I got caught up in reading about their like superstitions and stuff that people follow out in Appalachia. So a lot of this video is going to be the superstitions, and there's going to be a little bit of folklore in here. I hope that still interests you guys. I really got off track with that, but in the future, I definitely will be doing Appalachia folklore again. I probably won't visit superstitions again though, because I did so many in this video. But yeah, with that all being said, let's get right into today's video. I think that the way that I'm going to split this video is do the superstitions first and then the folklore at the end. And then later on in the future, we will revisit folklore. There's also a lot of the folklore that I want to do full videos on one specific topic. So I didn't include too many in this video and I didn't go too in depth because I want to focus a whole entire video on those topics. So I just really will be brushing the surface with that. The first superstition I want to talk about involves a black cat. And I know that there is a lot of superstitions involving black cats, but this one I think is just in the Appalachia areas. So this superstition goes that if you see a black cat crossing the road, you have to draw an X in the air 3 times, and you have to do this very, very quickly because all 3 of the X's must be drawn before the cat crosses the road. And if you don't do that, you're going to have bad luck. So the superstition goes. Now, a lot of these superstitions are just in good fun and they are similar to this one, but a lot of them are actually very, very creepy. Apple picking in Appalachia is said to be very common as far as I can find in my research, and this even has a superstition in it as well, which is kind of cool because that is definitely a fall activity. So to put something creepy into a fall activity leading up to Halloween is pretty cool in my opinion. But when apple picking, it is said that you must leave 1 apple on each tree. These apples are an offering for the devil because it is said that if he comes around and there are no apples on the trees, he will become very, very angry and do something awful to you. Such as if you're a farmer, he might make your crop stop growing or go as far as to make you or your family members become deathly ill. Now, this is obviously much more morbid than the cat superstition, but they're all kind of within the same realm of each other. I think this next one goes for more than just the Appalachia area, as I have heard it mentioned before, but when removing a body from the home, you should always let the body leave the home feet first. That is of a body of a person who passed away. I forgot to mention that. Just to be clear, the person who is being removed from the home is deceased. The reason for this is because if you take the body out head first, the head of this person is facing into the home, giving the opportunity for this person to catch the eye of somebody who is still alive. And that would lead the person whose eye the deceased person's caught to be the next one to pass away. That was a little bit confusing. I think I explained that confusingly, but basically, if you catch the eye of a person who is deceased while they are leaving the home, it basically means that you will be the next one to pass away. This one's kind of funny to me, but it is said that if you're drinking a spirit, you should dump a little bit out for the spirits from the other side. This is because it just is an offering and keeps them happy. And I don't know why this one is funny to me. I just thought, as soon as I read it, all I could think about was a drunk ghost, and it just made me giggle a little bit. When someone passes, you should stop the clocks at the time that they pass, and this just prevents another death. I'm not really sure why, but I guess it's because it kind of freezes time in that belief. And it is said that you should leave the time here for about 24 hours before turning the clocks back on. This goes more or less from other websites. I saw people leave them for a longer period of time or people leave it for less periods of time. but just in the middle or around 24 hours seems to be the most common time that the clocks are left like this for people who believe in this superstition. This next one I'm actually familiar with, as somebody told me to do this as a kid, and that is if you drop out a little bit of salt from any salt shaker or anything like that, you should take a pinch of the salt and throw it over your left shoulder to keep the devil away. Throwing it over your right shoulder will not work. Now as a kid, somebody told me that if you take a salt shaker and you just go like this over your shoulder, it's good luck. There was no specific shoulder that you should have done it over. It wasn't if you dumped the salt, it was just over any shoulder. And I'm sure that this used to drive my mom nuts, because anytime she took me and my sisters out, we would immediately grab the salt shaker off of the table and start throwing the salt everywhere, which is horrible. And that isn't even the superstition, so I don't know who told me that, but I wonder if I'm like cursed for doing that completely wrong or what. I'm sure we've all heard that bad things happen in threes, but in the Appalachia belief, it is strongly believed that death comes in threes. I can't even imagine how unnerving that would be to have a loved one or somebody you're close to pass away and then have to worry that 2 more people you know or 2 more people you are close to are going to pass away. But I kept seeing online while looking into this superstition that that does in fact happen a lot, which is very, very unnerving. They believe that moving an empty rocking chair is a sign of death. So if you walk by a rocking chair and just start rocking it, that is kind of calling death. And while researching this, I saw that a woman who lives in the Appalachian Mountains was saying that while she was growing up, anytime she would do that, she would often get scolded by her grandparents and stuff, being like, don't do that. I guess because they were superstitious that they would be the ones that death would come for because of the rocking chair. According to this folklore or superstition, if a child is born from a C-section with a blue face and has their hand covering half of their face like this or anything like that, that is a sign that the child is more in tune with the paranormal and that the child is more likely to be able to connect with the dead. How unsettling is that? This next one is for the ladies, and that is if you shower on the first day of your menstrual cycle, aka the first day of your period, you will quite literally die from cramps. Also a superstition that goes outside of Appalachia, as I have also heard this, but if you have an itchy nose, that means that you could have company coming. And again, I heard that one before, and I definitely do not live in the Appalachia areas whatsoever. But yeah, it is said that if you have an itchy nose, then you could be expecting company. It is also said that if a broom falls, that could also be a sign that you can expect company, and that one I had never heard before. If you touch the deceased's body at a funeral, it is said that you will have some of the worst dreams of your life. However, for me personally, I don't know why you would go up and touch a deceased body at a funeral to begin with. I don't think that's something I would do. Maybe in other cultures or something, that's something people do, but for me personally, I would not be doing that. Another one that I had never heard but is kind of fun is if people or somebody is sweeping and they sweep under your feet, like you lift your feet off the ground to allow somebody to sweep under them, you will never ever get married. Now again, that is not one that I'd ever heard before, but I do think that it's kind of fun and interesting. You guys are gonna have to let me know if you're superstitious. I am personally very superstitious, and a lot of those I had never heard of before. And even if I don't fully believe every single one of them, they're definitely going to be sitting on my brain from this point out. So this is the part of the video where I want to focus on the folklore. And again, this is a topic that I will be revisiting in the future. But I'm just gonna talk about a few of them today here. First one I wanna brush the surface on today is the Brown Mountain lights. These are lights in the sky that hover over Brown Mountain in North Carolina. These lights have been there for over a century, and they look like these little orb balls that just appear out of nowhere in the sky before doing one of 2 things. They either just simply vanish into the sky or they silently explode. These lights have been spotted in the sky for a very, very long time, with the first sighting taking place in 1913 when being spotted hovering over the mountain by a fisherman. I don't want to talk too much or dive too in depth about this one because this is one of the ones that I would like to talk about again in the future. Like I already mentioned in my previous videos, there are so many cryptids and unknown creatures that live in the Appalachia areas that I definitely will want to do a deep dive or like a cryptid video on them individually, but again, I'm just going to brush the surface on some of them today, and we are going to start with the Grafton monster. This is a large humanoid creature that is bipedal and has no visible head and has skin similar to that of a seal, with the first known sighting being in the 60s. When first sighted, a teenager had encountered the beast and claimed that the creature was 9 feet tall and 4 feet wide. Another creature that can often be found in Appalachia is the Appalachia chupacabra. The first alleged encounter with the Appalachia chupacabra took place in the 1900s. The creature was seen in Putnam County, West Virginia, Lake Norman in South Carolina, and in Santee, South Carolina on the grounds of a golf club. The creature is said to have fangs and a nose like a pig. It has a long body with wide shoulders and has long claws similar to that of a bird with only 4 toes and has a long spiky spine. These creatures are said to be known to travel in packs, and it is believed that the Appalachia chupacabra originally came from Puerto Rico but traveled over to the Appalachia areas in the 1800s. Another creature that comes from this area that I was aware of the story, but I wasn't aware that it took place in the Appalachia areas, is Bat Boy, which was originally spotted in the Hellhole Cave in West Virginia in 1992. Now, I talked about, I think, or at least I meant to, talk about Bat Boy briefly in my Astroworld video. This creature was said to be spotted and then take police and FBI on a chase through a bunch of different states, and he obviously was never caught. And yeah, that is basically what Bat Boy is. He was never caught, and apparently he took police and FBI all over all of America. And I had no idea that he was said to be originally from West Virginia or anywhere near the Appalachia areas, let alone within them. So as you can see, there are a lot of cryptid creatures that are said to live in the Appalachia areas, and with talking to you guys, I found that a lot of you guys have grown up in these areas and are from this area, so I'd love to know if you guys have encountered any strange creatures out that way. My 2 favorite cryptids, which are the Flatwoods monster and Mothman, are both from this area, which I think is so cool. Also, a notable mention is I am absolutely obsessed with Bigfoot. I think that that whole entire thing is so cool and so interesting and definitely has some back to it. And Bigfoot is often also seen in the Appalachia areas. Living in the Appalachia areas are also said to be what are known as the Cherokee Little People. Their first sighting of these little people is unknown, and they are said to live in North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee. These people are said to be very, very tiny, standing at about knee height, which isn't very telling as the height of your knee depends on how tall you actually are, but my knee height would be very, very tiny. These people are said to look a lot like humans, however, they are much more attractive, and they are obviously super, super tiny. They are also said to have a varying different colored skin, such as gold, silver, white, black. These, what I'm going to refer to as creatures, are a lot more like spirits than human, if anything. Now, depending on where you look, it does vary whether these creatures are said to be good or bad. They kind of fall in with the foe, which are fairies and things like that in Appalachia. It is said that these creatures are generally happy. They like to dance, they like to sing, and they take care of the forest, but they are or do have like a little bit of an evil streak. They also will really look out for other Cherokee people. If you are lost in the woods or whatever, they will appear and guide you out. Like I said, they definitely go along with the foe, which are like evil fairies that take place in Appalachia. I will do a more deep dive on that in a separate video, but it is said that if you're in the wooded areas in Appalachia and you find something out of the ordinary, like jewelry or something worth value, and you pick it up and take it without asking, this probably belongs to one of the little Cherokee people, and this will really upset them, and they will appear and begin to throw rocks at you. These little creatures are said to be powerful beings and can go invisible, teleport, and are said to be immortal. They have their own language but can also speak Cherokee. The purpose of these people is to show the importance of teaching people kindness and how to treat everything with kindness, especially the forest. There are said to be 3 tribes of these creatures. The Lavelle people, these ones are known to be quite mean and mischievous. The Rock people, which are also known to be quite unpleasant. And Dogwood people. These are the ones you'd like to encounter in the forest, as they are said to be very, very kind and very good caretakers. Are these things that I think that the belief of these has kind of been broken in today's day and age, but they are called fairy rings, and they are basically rings of mushrooms or circles of mushrooms, and these are referred to as fairy rings, as it is believed if you step into these you will end up in the fairy world, and once you get there it is said that the fairies will make you dance until you pass away from exhaustion. It has since been proven by science that these fairy rings, the reason that the mushrooms grow in a circle like that is from something completely normal, but I do think that the theory behind those is still interesting. It's scary how in society fairies are painted to us, especially as a girl growing up young. Fairies are supposed to be these nice, cool, pleasant things, when in actual folklore, the foe are these little evil, creepy things. It's just really weird how it got twisted and mixed up over time. And the last thing that I'm going to brush the surface on is that in Appalachia, you do not want to get caught in the mist. I think that I mentioned this in my last video, but the reason that you don't want to get caught in the mist is because it is said that the mist is a door or a portal to the other world. And if you go into this portal, you will be encountered with all of these really creepy creatures from the other side. Evil fairies, you know, maybe like some of the cryptids, things like that. They can come over during the mist and you can end up in their realm in the mist. That is how that folklore goes, which is so creepy, as mist is kind of creepy in itself, but to think that you could get lost in the mist and end up with all these horrifying, scary creatures is terrifying. But guys, that is going to bring us to the end of today's video. I will definitely be visiting this topic again in the future, but if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to comment down below what you'd like to see in my future videos, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so that you don't miss any future videos from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.